Then you come to our ancient bathhouse, and the bathhouse is our most beautiful piece, right? So that's the thing that costs us millions of dollars to set up. And within the bathhouse, you walk in and you feel like you've walked into another world. So how do we get you in your everyday to feel like you've walked into Shiva Som or Bad Ragaz in Switzerland? And within there, we've got this beautiful lounge area, 6-degree ice bath, 38-degree magnesium pool, and we've got a huge sauna and steam room as well.
This is incredible. Well, my guest today is actually a friend of mine, a guy who I've talked with a lot over the past year and a half or so, as I've witnessed him building out something pretty cool in Australia and soon the rest of the world. And I'll let him tell you a little bit more about what that is. But his name is Tim Gurner. Tim is one of Australia's most influential entrepreneurs. He's all over different magazines and websites, and I can't seem to turn around without seeing some new press release about Tim and what he's up to, because he has built one of the most iconic property empires in Australia, a developmental pipeline that I think exceeds about 14 billion. So he's got buildings that are spotted all over the Australian skylines, and perhaps more importantly and more relevant to me and you, if you're listening in, Tim has a real heart for wellness and is creating something incredible that I've been able to kind of peek into and see behind the scenes in Australia. And soon throughout the rest of the world, when it comes to a wellness experience that goes above and beyond anything I see. I'm actually about to hop on a plane in a couple of weeks. Possibly I will have done that by the time this podcast comes out, to see Tim, to visit him, and to see what he's building in Australia. So Tim, I'm pretty excited to get into your backstory and how you got into what you're doing and how you're planning to transform the wellness industry all by your lonesome.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, and great to chat, mate. And thanks for all the support over the years. And I think, like all the listeners, we've got to thank you for everything you've done over the last 10 to 15 years, mate. You've been a big part of our inspiration and vision and what we want to create. And I think what you've done, bringing ancient wisdoms, spirituality, and modern science together, is something that we're very, very focused on. And thank you for everything you're doing for the industry.
Yeah, and that's the key. And I know that's what you're focusing on with some of these clubs that you're building, is not just biohacking and oxygen and red light and PMF and all the jazz, but also this return to kind of a wholesome connection to planet Earth. So not to use too many catchphrases there, but tell me about how you got into the industry in the first place.
It's a good question. So it's been a journey. So I'm 43. So I had my first business when I was 19, which was a gym in Elwood called My Wellbeing. I was actually living with this hippie at the time, Ben. You would have loved it. And I was going home complaining like you do as a 20-year-old kid, 19-year-old kid, saying my boss is a prick and, I'm not enjoying my work and I'm working too hard, not getting paid enough. And she said, "Oh, it's simple. What do you love?" And I said, "Oh, I'm obsessed with the gym. I love the gym. That's what I want to do. And I don't want to have a boss." And she said, "Well, why don't you start a gym, be your own boss?" I was like, "Oh, that's a genius idea." So within 4 weeks, I started my own gym. It was actually interesting.
Well, by the way, it's be your own boss / be the employee of a whole bunch of, 50-year-old women who want to look like they did when they were 18 years old in bikinis.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. That was definitely our clientele. And so I started that within 4 weeks. And then I had a bit of a life-changing moment at that point. My dad passed away 4 weeks into starting my own business. And then I lost 3 grandparents straight after that. So in a period of 4 months, we literally lost most of my family, passed away. And it was a really interesting test for a 19-year-old. I had 150 grand debt with a bank here. I had no money whatsoever, and I'd started this business. And it was a huge challenge. And I sort of looked at it. I remember the day where I was sitting there thinking, feeling very sorry for myself that my life had sort of fallen apart. Had this huge debt in the business. I literally just started, so there was no income in the business. It started 4 weeks before. And I thought, do I let it go and, go bankrupt on my first ever business, or do I get back in there and have a really big crack? And I got to say that I think, I was always an entrepreneur at heart, but I think that period definitely set me up for the hard grind and determination that you need to be successful in this challenging world.
Yeah, kind of a paradoxical title to your first gym. You said it was called My Wellbeing.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
It sounds like your well-being kind of suffered a little bit.
Yeah, my well-being was not good. And, it was interesting. Like I lived that from 20 to 30, I lived that very hard-paced entrepreneurial life where I really just smashed myself. And, this is the era when, all the bankers were the guys having red wine and steak at lunch, and the entrepreneurs were proud of themselves, sleeping 2 to 4 hours a night and biohacking and microdosing. And, I absolutely smashed myself through that period. So I sort of had that gym, and then we built it up to a good scale, sold it 2 years later, and got back into real estate. So I got into real estate in about 2005. Perfect timing, just before the GFC. Got my feet sort of under a desk with a guy here in Melbourne, and then GFC hit, and the whole world blew up in real estate, debt world, as you can imagine. And that was a insanely tough period. It was mentally challenging, and obviously needed a lot of grit and determination to get through that. So from 2005 to 2012, I worked with this amazing guy who was an incredible mentor for me, a guy called Maurice Schwartz, who's a guy, Australian entrepreneur here. And then we developed a lot of buildings together through that period. And then in about 2013, I decided that I wanted to try and do it myself. I wanted to do it a bit differently. I thought there was an opportunity to create a real brand, and a brand that people would follow and trust and really buy into in the real estate game. So I started Gerner, which is Gerner Group, in 2013. And the whole vision was to create something really different where we could change people's lives by creating incredible communities, incredible spaces. And from 2013 to 2017, it was an amazing ride, right? We sort of sold between 500 million and $1 billion worth of apartments a year. Great success. The brand really grew. And then my pivotal moment really came in 2017. Actually, this building behind us here, called the Flatiron in Brisbane. I went up to Brisbane and developed 3 30-story towers in Brisbane, 1,000 apartments, and got to the last tower, and we had a cost blowout of about 60%. And that meant that the project was completely unprofitable. We knew we were going to lose tens of millions of dollars. And I had to make a hard decision to push forward with the project, knowing we were going to lose. Anyway, we went through it, had 2 years of absolute hell. And to be honest, Ben, if I hadn't had that time and the time I had with my dad, I don't think I would have gone as hard into the wellness area, because I was a mess. I was mentally, physically, spiritually a mess. I was working 24 hours a day, thought I was going to lose everything, lost all my priorities, all my motivations sort of disappeared. And, it was a really, really challenging time. I had a couple of young kids at the time. I've now got 3 kids, but I had 2 young girls at that time. We've just had another beautiful young one who's only 13 months old, who you'll meet in a couple of weeks. So it was a really challenging time. I got to the end of that period and sort of thought, I either need to scale back the business or I need to structure the business properly for success. And that was in 2017. I obviously decided to take the business to a bigger scale, and we started to bring in a proper executive team, proper capital behind the structures, and build what is Gerner Group today. And I think, that was a very important time, because I could have easily slowed down and gone backwards there. It was tough. My body was smashed. My brain was smashed. And I really needed to focus on my wellness and get back to what I believed in.
Yeah. So was it 2018 when you really buckled down on your own personal wellness, or even got interested in something beyond just like, what you may have known about fitness at the gym in the first place?
Yeah. So for wellness to me at that time was trying to have big muscles and smash myself, and I'd be able to run. So it was, what I thought was wellness was not wellness, right? It was old school, hardcore gym. And I met this amazing guy called Nam Baldwin, who you'll meet when you're out in Australia, who's a performance coach. And he was working with some elite athletes at the time. And I went to him and said, look, I've got my version of the Olympics coming up, right? So I need to get through this really hard period. We're coming to the end of the project. I needed to be able to have incredible energy. I needed to be calm. I needed to not get sick. I was getting sick a lot. My immunity was really, really bad. And Nam put me through a whole raft of testing, hormonal testing, supplementation, breath work, and a very rigorous sort of supplementation, food and training regime, but a lot more focus on breath work and recovery than what I'd done in the past. And then that really set me up for success. I got through that period with him, and it was absolutely life-changing how it worked through that very difficult time.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about your personal protocol and what it looks like now, because now I'm doing some work with you, and we bounce stuff off each other all the time. But before I get into that, this whole Saint Haven concept is how we met. So what was the evolution from Gerner Group in 2018 to this idea for Saint Haven? What exactly is Saint Haven?
Yeah, look, it started really back in when I was 20. So my well-being was this concept that I wanted to do more than just a gym. I wanted to have more around it. And to be honest, it was too early in the sector. No one ever knew what well-being was back in 2000s. So the concept was over 20 years, I've been very fortunate. My wife and I traveled to the best hotels, best wellness retreats, whether it's Shit Somme or Bad Ragaz in Switzerland. We've gone to all these incredible places that when you left, you felt incredible, right? And, whether it's also then the community elements of Soho House or, what Equinox did well for a period there or the Arts Club in London. And I started to think, how do we create this place where I can get away from the world, get away from work, get away from family, and surrender into this serene environment where I'm literally closed off from the world. And I've got the best access to the best food, best drinks, best recovery, best practitioners. I can train, I can eat, I can work. And I started to patch together, how do we bring the best of what Soho House Arts Club is, what the best of Equinox does, what Remedy Place or Next Health, and then the best yoga, meditation, wellness retreats. How do I bring it into one place for busy individuals who don't have time to do yoga, breathwork, sauna, ice bath, physio all over the country? So that was the vision. And to be honest, Ben, it was a very selfish endeavor, right? This was a thing for me. It was a side project alongside real estate that I thought would be amazing for me, and I thought people would buy into. So we opened the first club. We did our first press release on the front cover of Forbes. Actually, I did a cover about my protocols and my journey back in December 2022, and the response was absolutely outrageous. We had over 30,000 inquiries just from that one media outlet, and we sold out the first club in about 4 weeks, which was Collingwood. And it was an amazing thing. It was like, this was my baby that I'd dreamt about for 20 years and finally brought it all together. And I remember sitting at the bar with my wife on the first night saying, wow, it's kind of everything that I always imagined it would be. And she looked at me like I was stupid and said, yeah, well, of course, right? That was the whole point. And, within 6 months, we were seeing massive change for our members. And I think the biggest thing for us is, as you know, because I'm speaking to you about it daily, is we want to get real efficacy. We want to get real change. This isn't just a beautiful club where you come and, talk to other people. We want to change their lives. And within 6 months, we were seeing people who had had very bad mental health issues, or they were recovering from surgery, or they had massive weight loss issues, that were seeing huge changes in a very short period of time. We'd also had a wait list of 25,000 people, which gave us the confidence to grow the business beyond that.
Yeah, how many of them are there? Is it just the one? And you said Collinswood?
Collingwood. So Collingwood's in the sort of like the meat packers of New York. It's the best way to think about it. That's been open now for 2.5 years and at full capacity. We then opened South Yarra, which sold out in 2 weeks. We then opened Toorak, that sold out in 2 weeks. We then opened the second brand, Saint, in St Kilda and South Melbourne. So we've now got 5 clubs fully operational, and we've got over 30,000 people on the wait list in Victoria. And then we've got 5 sites under construction or secured in Sydney, 1 in the Gold Coast, 1 in New York, 1 in Dubai. And now the big focus for us is global expansion.
Yeah, I was going to say, when are you going to build one in Moscow, Idaho?
Yeah, soon. We'll get in the middle of winter there.
Into the sticks of North Idaho. Lifestyle magazine describes St. Haven as Tim Gurner's cult-like health spa that offers a biohacking regime for the elite to put the brakes on aging. Accurate description or overhyped?
Look, I don't think it's cold-like. There is a very strong sense of community. Let's put it that way, Ben. I think, I think after COVID, and we've all gone through 20 years of everyone worked really hard and forgot about their health, right? We all slept badly, we didn't get enough sunlight, we didn't touch the ground, we forgot about what our real purpose was. And I think through COVID, people really wanted to bring that connection back. And what the clubs have been able to do is create this unbelievable sense of community. And it's really interesting when we talk to people in the US and Dubai, and we show them these beautiful pictures of the club, and everyone falls in love because, I mean, the big benefit for us, Ben, if someone was going to go and start this, these clubs cost 15 to 20 million to start up from a capital perspective. You got to be able to design it. You got to be able to build it. You got to be able to operate them, which is a very, very difficult thing. So for us, we're fortunate. We've got a full in-house design team, full construction team, and then we have a team of over 600 people in hospitality. So if you think about each of our clubs, it's got 90 full-time staff. So you're really running a boutique hotel with very, very demanding clients. So it's a very difficult business to run. But it's interesting, you explain it to people in the US and they say, oh, it looks incredible. I love the model. But what you'll see when you're out here, you cannot explain the feel, the intangible feel that you walk into the space. And, it's quite incredible the warmth and community that our team have really built on vulnerability, right? If you walk into one of our clubs, you're coming in to let your guard down, you're dropping the ego at the door, you're coming in to surrender, and with like-minded people who are trying to live their ultimate life. So how do we get you as a member to walk in and feel like you can drop all that baggage and all the crap from day-to-day life and then leave feeling just enlightened when you walk out?
Yeah, like-minded people rolls off the tongue a little better than cult-like. If you're listening in right now, you want to see the photos and the videos of what one of these clubs actually looks like on the outside and the inside, I'll put some images. If you go to bengreenfieldlife.com/Tim Gurner, which is where the show notes are, Gurner. Tim, kind of walk me through verbally what it looks like what are the special things built into it? Because I've heard you talking about the clubs before where you've got like the ability for people that get their HRV analyzed when they come in and know whether they're supposed to go to like an active space or a recovery space, and there's customization and personalization worked in, and it sounds like retinal scanning out of Mission Impossible or something like that. But walk me through what it's like when somebody actually walks in. Like, what have you guys actually built into this thing?
Yeah, I'll talk about the more personal stuff after a bit. So that all the clubs are set up with the same DNA. So you arrive into this beautiful sensory cube. So the first thing you do, swipe at the door. It's all private access. You can't get in unless you're a member. So all very private, very exclusive for our members, which has been a really important part. You'll come into the main lobby. There's actually a secret wall to then get into the club.
I'm going to interrupt. What do you mean when you say secret wall?
You will see when you arrive. You'll walk into the sensory cube and you actually won't know how to get out.
All right. I'm intrigued.
If you swap your hand over the top of a sculpture, it'll actually let you in the front doors, which only the members know.
Oh, sick. All right. Okay, cool. Keep going.
Yeah. So then you walk into the club, and that's the most important part. So one of the big things we want is extremely personalized service. So when you walk in, Ben, the beautiful staff, all of our staff are just such incredible people that, the wellness community, we're very lucky. They're all such warm, loving people. You walk in, they'll know your coffee order. So you'd walk in, Ben, that's okay, great. I know you're heading over to HIIT. Do you want your methylene blue with your creatine with our hydration elixir? So it's all very, very personalized. Within that lobby, you've then got a cafe for takeaway food, smoothies, etc. Beyond that, you've then got our formal restaurant. So we've actually got a formal restaurant that does breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's a seated restaurant with the most incredible organic food. No bad oils, no sugars. It's about as good as it gets in the world. You'll absolutely love it when you're out here. Then connected to that is the business club. So these aren't, we call them wellness clubs, but they're really private clubs that have got a huge focus on wellness. So this is a space you'll spend 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours in throughout the day. When you leave the business club, you come back through a concierge and you'll walk down what we call our path of life. So in our path of life, one end starts at the yellow, the calm, the yoga, meditation cave, and then all the way through orange, and then red is the high octane training at the other end. Within that path of life is our fountain of youth. So we've got incredible filtered water, reverse osmosis water. One big thing for us was actually interesting. I was in the sauna with a lady yesterday at St. Haven Turak, and I said to her, what's your number one thing you love about the club? And she said, I just love the bathroom. She says, I'll come here to have a shower over being at home because you've got all my colognes, my amenities, my perfumes. So we do beautiful bathrooms like a 6-star hotel. They're fully serviced the whole time. So if you need a shirt ironed, shoes polished, whatever you need, anytime it's there. Scented towels when you want them. It's a beautiful. Yeah. So then we walk through, keep going down the path of life. We come to a very special space, which is our meditation cave. So we created this space that feels like it's been carved out of the side of a mountain. So you actually walk into this beautiful space, soft lighting, got this little beautiful skylight that follows circadian lighting. In there, we do meditation, we do breath work, we do sound healing. Next door, we've got a beautiful yoga studio. This is the same for all the clubs. Yoga studio, we do a mix of things, hot Pilates, yoga. Actually, our number one class, Ben, is a thing called sound healing. And, it's interesting. I'm sure you've seen, sound bowls around the world. Ours is a little bit different. So we have got full musicians who sing, play between 8 to 15 instruments in one session. You're laying down on a beautiful, comfortable rug. We've got a pillow under you, eye mask on, and it's an unbelievable spiritual experience by proper musicians. It's way beyond just a few sound bowls in the corner. Then you walk down to the full gym floor. So we've got a huge gym floor in all of the clubs, the latest techno gym gear. It's all beautifully set up, as you'll see. Pilates still our number one movement class by quite a long way. Pilates is still extremely popular. Then we've got a big HIIT studio. So one of the big things we say, Ben, I know you believe more than anyone, is we want to take the male or female who's been doing yoga their whole lives. They've been doing yoga and breathwork and meditation. And after a year, we want them to be doing yoga, meditation, breath work, hardcore squats, hardcore deadlifts, a bit of Pilates, bit of HIIT training, and eating beautifully. We want to take the weightlifter and get him or her doing 1 to 2 yoga sessions a week. So trying to get that holistic movement as opposed to just a very scripted, bodybuilding or yoga routine. Then we get to the exciting stuff. So that's sort of the community building elements. Then we've got what we call Haven, which is our biohacking. So like you, our number one belief for our members is sleep, sunlight, grounding. Nothing can beat that, right? That's what we're focused on. But our members are bloody busy. So we try to bring in the greatest tech is out there. So red light therapy, still by far our number one. We sit at 94% occupancy. It is crazy. Like we keep on buying more and more beds and we can't keep up with the demand. We've got cryotherapy, we've got hyperbaric, we've got 1.35 kPa up to 2.4. So we've got medical grade hyperbaric as well. We've got lymphatic drainage, we've got red light therapy, we've got IV therapy. And then a big thing for us that is very hard for others to replicate is we've actually got within Haven a full suite of practitioners. So if you want to see a doctor, a nurse, a physio, an osteo, a psychologist, a nutritionist, a naturopath, all of it is within the club. Then you come to our ancient bathhouse, and the bathhouse is our most beautiful piece, right? So that's the thing that costs us millions of dollars to set up. And within the bathhouse, you walk in and you feel like you've walked into another world. So how do we get you in your everyday to feel like you've walked into Shiva Som or Bad Ragaz in Switzerland? And within there, we've got this beautiful lounge area, 6-degree ice bath, 10-degree ice bath, 38-degree magnesium pool, and we've got a huge sauna and steam room as well.
This is incredible. I mean, is anybody else doing something like this?
Look, I think there's some really good specialty areas. I think what Remedy's doing in the US is really good. I think Next Health on the medical testing, there's some good day spas out there. I don't think anyone's brought the whole thing holistically together yet. It's a big, it's an expensive endeavor, right? These are big clubs. These are 20,000 square foot clubs to 30,000 square foot clubs. So, they're a very big endeavor. And the thing that's best about the clubs, though, is we've got this, what we call hardware. So that's our hardware. But the thing that actually sets us apart is what we call is our software, which is our people. And each club's got 90 people. So typically when you're there as a member, there'll actually be more team members than there will be members in the space. So when you walk in, they're going to know your food, where you're going, whether you're struggling or not. We can see your aura sleep data if you want us to see your aura sleep data. And the amazing thing, Ben, is you can come in as someone who's quite overweight and say, okay, in 12 months' time, I want to run the New York Marathon. You can pick up your food in the morning for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We can do all your supplementation in club. We can do your physio. We can do your strength training. We can do your flexibility. We can do your cardio training. We can do your VO2 max. So we can literally customize your perfect program to whatever it is. And, we have a few people in that belt, but we typically, Ben, have entrepreneurs and CEOs that are, exhausted, right? People are really tired. They're sick of life being so hard. They're looking for a way to find balance. And the good thing is, as you know better than anyone, I'm the perfect customer, right? So I still stress too much. I'm still not, although I have a very, very serious protocol in how I do things, I'm surrounded by people who need this. So we know exactly what our customer needs.
Yeah, well, no, this personalization, customization piece, I'm intrigued by this. You mentioned Aura. Could you do that with any wearable? Are you guys wearable agnostic? Is it just Aura? Like if I walk in, I've got my wearable data, my sleep data, my HRV, maybe advising on what kind of training I should do that day. Your staff can see it and they can point me in the right direction. But does it go beyond just Aura Ring? I mean, are you pulling in other metrics?
Yeah, so we've done a partnership with Aura for St. Haven at this stage, and then for Saint, which I didn't talk about. So Saint is our second brand, by the way, which is our younger, more high-octane brand. So that actually has alcohol Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. So St. Haven, our demographic, 39.6 is the average age. 58% females, whereas Saint is 32 average age and about 60% female. So that's the younger, if you're a single person in Melbourne, that's definitely the place you'll go and meet someone like-minded. And that's very much what that club is all about, high octane energy as opposed to surrendering to St. Haven. With our biggest thing, and I think, there's a lot of marketing concepts out there in wellness you and I talk about a lot. This is definitely not what we are, right? We are here to really change people's lives and help them live their ultimate life. And one of the big investments we've made is into our app. So we've spent millions of dollars already on our app, which takes Aura data, takes Apple data, takes Whoop data, and feeds it into your day. So if overnight you've woken up, typically your HRV is sitting at 85 and it's dropped down to 75 or 70 because you've eaten too late or you've drunk alcohol at night, our app will actually automatically take you out of your HIIT class and move you into a breathwork or fire and ice in our ancient bathhouse. So that's already happening. But what the next step is what we're about to launch in about a week. When it does that, it's actually going to give you supplementation advice, food advice, and holistic throughout the day. So we want our app to be the source of truth from all the different providers so that we can literally tell you day by day exactly what you need.
Yeah, about every month to 2 months, for you, Tim, for example, I'm looking at things like hormone data, blood data, genetic data, mold mycotoxin results, just a host of different biomarkers. Are you guys looking at that with your members too? Like, could somebody come in and, let's say, have a genetic report and begin to have their program or call it like their journey at Saint customized to them?
Yeah, 100%. So the one big brand that we haven't announced yet publicly is called Limitless. And Limitless is our ultimate human sort of protocol and testing regime. So, the reason we haven't announced it is because a few members heard about it and it's just spread like wildfire within the club, and we're actually at capacity for it at the moment. And that's a testing protocol from 7,000, 15,000 to 24,000. And it goes to full extreme. So, Ben, we've just partnered with, we're very fortunate. The great thing about the brand is we've got all the best wellness guys coming to us now. So we've obviously just did a partnership with Pronuvo, who's the first full body MRI. So it's the first location in Melbourne, which we literally opened last week. So we've got, as part of Limitless, every quarter you'll do, MRIs every 6 months. Every quarter you'll do a DEXA scan. You'll do a VO2 max, 297 biomarkers in bloods. We do urine testing, literally the whole works, obviously the mold testing that I just did with you as well. And we get together this incredible amount of information, which then our team tailor exactly to you. So down to the point where we can tailor your sleeping, your supplementation, your IV routine, your training routine. So it was really about me taking all of the best that I've seen around the world and then putting them together into one package.
Okay, so this is, almost like the paradise for biohacking and longevity. At the same time, as I know you've experienced, you could spend like 5 or 6 hours a day just with self-care and kind of paradoxically spend all of the hours or the days or the years you're looking at for longevity, putting in the effort to live a long time. For you personally, what's it look like? Like what have you found that actually sticks as far as when you walk into the club or when you wake up in the morning, what your non-negotiables are?
Yeah. As you know, I've tried everything. Literally, there's not a single thing in the club that I haven't tried to make sure it actually has efficacy. And, obviously, the partnership with you, Ben, is really important to make sure what we're bringing into the clubs is real and actually has real effect. So my routine's the same every day. So sleep's a critical thing for me. 9:30, I'm asleep every single night, and I wake at 5:30. I still use a chili pad. I'm a big believer in cooling body at night, so I sleep at about 18.5 degrees. Wake up in the morning, 5:30. I'm straight down into my practice that you know well about, which is I do a 20-minute, 10-minute breath work followed by 20-minute meditation. And within that, I do a bit of a thing called a somatic meditation, which is actually, it's an HRV trainer where you actually think about stressful situations and feel it throughout your body and then calm yourself, and do that about 4 to 5 times. I then use a gratitude journal every single day. I've been doing that for about 8 years, and I find it really, really important, probably not so much on the days you're feeling good, but more on the days I'm not feeling great. I've got a good mate called Ben Greenfield who actually gave me the best insights I've ever had, which is my family routine at 7 a.m. So after I've done my meditation, my gratitude, I do 20 minutes of stretching, And then one day you said to me, I think I was trying to get you on a call, and you said, no, I can't. I've got my family circle at 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. And I said, hang on, what's that? And so every morning we have this beautiful little angel who's just joined us, our baby girl, India, who at 7 a.m. we all go together, my two other girls and my wife, and we sit around the baby and wake her in the morning and share gratitude around the circle, and just for 10 minutes, just chat and talk about the day and what's happening. And that's 100% from you. And has it been an absolute game changer for our family, where it's very, very busy just to take that time to connect. 7 to 7:45 is chaos family time. As you know, that's the busy time trying to get the girls out to school. And then 7:45, I'm training. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, I do weights. Tuesday, I do 45 minutes zone 2 cardio. Thursday, I do zone 4, zone 5. And then Sundays, what I call Surrender Sunday, is a really important thing for me, which is all of my biohacking, which involves anything from ice bars, sauna, red light, PEMF, grounding, nature walks. Everything happens on a Sunday. But every single day after I have trained, I've actually just bought in, thanks to you as well, is the EWOT. So the exercising with oxygen has been a really interesting add-on that we've just added on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But every single day, after that, I'll do a breathwork and meditation again on a PEMF mat with a red light therapy that comes over the top of me. So that's sort of the morning ritual. 10:30 I eat. I'm very specific on calories. So 2,700 calories a day, 40% protein, 30% carbs, 30% fat. I'm religious on that. My supplementation is done a combination of you and Marika from St. Haven. So I have very strict supplementation, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Lunch is the same every day. I try to take 20 minutes to eat that. One thing that I've been focused on trying to make a reality is what you and I've been talking about, which is this sort of deep, non-sleep deep rest around 2:30, 3 o'clock.
To interrupt you real quick about the non-sleep deep rest. I know that you and I have talked about this. I just got back from some pretty hefty travel and documentary filming. That is probably the number one thing I do for restoring a frayed nervous system when it comes to sleep deprivation, travel, or inflammation. Like you and I are talking at about 6 p.m. Pacific time. And sometimes I pull out the sledgehammer. So from 2 to 3:30 p.m. today, I did a 90-minute yoga nidra in the hyperbaric, went from just wrecked from all the travel to on top of the world when I climbed out of there at 3:30. So for anybody who hasn't or who has the ability to combine those two, some kind of oxygen with the yoga nidra or non-sleep deep rest, there's something about being in the hyperbaric that shifts you even deeper into that sleep-like state. It's incredible. It's probably my top recovery protocol right now.
Yeah. So I think one of the things people can't believe on my Aura results is I sleep on average 7 hours and 51 minutes, have for the last 5 years. And I had 210 naps last year out of 365 days. So that afternoon nap is really, really important to me if I can get it in. Doesn't always work perfectly, but as you said, it makes a big difference when I can. I get home for dinner, 6:30 with the kids always. And then 8 o'clock, it's blue light glasses are on. It's trying to start to slow down for the night. And by 9:30, I'm asleep. So it's a pretty regimented protocol. And, I'm not a big drinker. There's another big reason why I started St. Haven, by the way, is I'm not sure if it's a bigger thing in the US, but Australians love alcohol, right? Where we've got a big alcohol culture here. And men in particular, men have seemed to find this way where we can only socialize over a beer or over a pool table or something. We always seem to involve alcohol. So now to be able to say to a mate, hey, forget about it, we're not going to the bar on Friday night. Let's meet at 4 o'clock. Let's do a training session. Let's do a sauna, ice bath, and grab some incredible food after and wake up the next day feeling incredible. So that was another big motivator for me, because I actually had in Australia, and you'll see when you come out, there was no community social aspect without alcohol involved. And it was something that's just such a missing thing here.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, I had an interview last week. I had a debate with an Australian on alcohol. And it was actually interesting. Like his take is no amount of alcohol is good, period. My take is small microdoses of what is a hormetic stressor can induce cellular resilience. So I'm traditionally a very small glass of wine or like bitters forward cocktail with dinner each night. That being said, my wife and I both branched out. For example, right now we are kind of doing a little experiment with Amanita muscaria, which is like the Mario mushroom that in high doses is psychedelic, but in low doses, microdosed, it causes a very similar GABAergic effect as alcohol, but also induces lucid dreaming, great sleep, great sex, no toxicity or upregulation of liver enzymes. It's a very interesting compound. It's actually really catching on in the States as an alcohol alternative, and also something people are using as an alternative to both antidepressants and opioids, called Amanita. So still kind of plays on the borders of legality, but very interesting compound.
Yeah. Mushrooms in Australia are becoming a bigger thing. So as you know, I microdose psilocybin quite a lot every 3 or 4 days. Very small amount, but I just feel it does give me that sense of calm and creativity at a different level. And as you know, I just had a couple of operations on my hips about 8 weeks ago, and I came out when I had that medication, and I reckon the 3 best business ideas I've ever had when I was coming out of that lucid, that period of lucidness. And I think that there's a really interesting place for psychedelics, and in Australia, it is very much it's becoming part legal. They say it's legal, psilocybin, for depression use, but it's really not. There's only about 2 or 3 people actually approved to do it. But I'm hoping that becomes a big thing. It's something we'd love to be able to offer in St. Haven into the future, which just gives people an option for something different. But alcohol-wise, I mean, I still drink tequila. Tequila is the only thing I drink because I find it as the cleanest, and I don't like anything that's really down-regulating from a nervous system perspective. But for me, if I had one or two tequilas a week, that'd be the max I'd be drinking. But I think it's exciting to have something that is an option to connect men and women together. I think women are probably better at it in Australia. I think men in particular don't have that place to connect and create community that is just so important for men.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your day sounds absolutely incredible too. And it still sounds like you're getting like 7, 8 hours of work in each day, and still family time, that with especially that morning family huddle. You're right. Like, that is clutch. It's one of the most fulfilling parts of my day, not only because we're a family, but we are doing prayer and meditation and devotion and talking about our days. And then, like at 6 p.m. right now, 1 hour from now, 7 p.m., second favorite part of the day. Same thing in the evening. We're all standing around the table, singing, praying, chatting. I'm taking my sons through a book chapter, and then we're sitting down at dinner. Those bookends are so important too. But it sounds like you have pretty good balance. Like, are you pretty happy with the work, family, health balance you have going right now?
Look, I think it's a constant effort, isn't it? Right? It's not. I definitely don't have perfect days. There's days that I'm out, like I'm traveling tonight and traveling tomorrow. That'll throw it out a bit. But Ben, like it's my health isn't always perfect in terms of my health is good, but my wellness isn't always perfect. And our business is big, it's complex, it's highly stressful, it's big numbers, so it's high octane. And interestingly, for the last 18 months, as you know, I've really, really struggled since I had COVID twice. So I got COVID twice, October before last, and my HRV, which has always been very high for my age, has steadily declined ever since that. And I'm doing a lot of work with you and others to try to fix that. I mean, we went and did that. Ben introduced me to an incredible blood filter over in Mexico, and that definitely helped sort of stop it dropping and elevate it a little bit. But I think I'm still definitely suffering long COVID without any doubt.
Yeah, and I find repeatedly with clients, it's like, one of those moles that keeps popping its head out of different holes, and I hit it with one hammer and knock a little bit of it out, and then it pops up again. You got to hit it with another hammer. Yeah, long COVID, I mean, it is literally a bitch. Like the spike proteins are just so hard, and the vascular damage to long-term fix in the body. And as you know, like you and I talk about this every single week about different protocols and antioxidants and mitochondrial enhancement and blood filtration. And yeah, it is an uphill battle.
Yeah. I think it's been really interesting, the work we've been doing, and for anyone out there that's looked at the hormone balance stuff. I mean, I'm 43, so my testosterone's still mid-level. It's still good, and I'm not doing any supplementation there. But interestingly, I went on DHEA for a period of time because my DHEA was really low. And because of my stress and my cortisol, it actually flipped everything, not to testosterone, but actually to estrogen. And estrogen went through the roof. And actually my fat on my latest DEXA, as you saw, it's actually increased a lot because my estrogen just went out of control. So it's always about finding that balance. We do one thing and it might be good for one thing, but it's actually pushing something else up in another area as well.
Yep. Yeah, especially from an endocrine standpoint, it's kind of it makes sense. If you try to optimize hormones and you're dumping in the upstream precursors. If you dump them into the body in an anabolic state, low stress, good sleep, good sex, good relationships, lifting weights, avoiding chronic cardio, sunshine, connection to earth, etc., you get this very nice anabolic response. And then if you put those precursors in a stressed out or state, the body kind of flips a 180 and converts it into byproducts you don't necessarily need. In your case, estrogens, for example, it aromatizes. So yeah, it's something a lot of people don't realize. It's almost like hormone replacement therapy or some version of it can paradoxically backfire if you're doing it in a stressed out state.
Yeah. Another really interesting one for you that we just brought into the clubs is we're getting a lot of requests for NAD IVs. So we did a protocol last year with NAD with injections every week, and now we brought the IVs in as well. What people weren't realizing is a lot of them actually had excess NAD. So we actually test people now prior to doing any IVs or injections for NAD levels, which isn't really done anywhere. And what we found is typically people under 40 actually had very high NAD levels. And then they were over supplementing and actually causing more exhaustion and more stress on their body.
Yeah. You get basically exhaustion of methylation groups, which you can skirt to a certain extent if you're supplementing with trimethylglycine or SAMe or something like that. But the bigger picture is, you're right. Young, healthy individuals, especially people under 40, they don't necessarily need like hefty NAD protocols, maybe little bits of niacinamide here and there, unless they're super stressed, highly inflamed, pro athlete or something like that in terms of a ton of extra support. But yeah, these are the subtle nuances though that, I'm glad you pointed out the fact that if you're not quantifying and you're doing a lot of these protocols, you could be wasting your time or money or doing damage.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was talking to the team yesterday about, we've got a guy who's 50 who had gone through a couple of operations, was weighed 130 kilo, body fat of 42%, visceral fat of 180 centimeters, right? Significantly unwell. And over a 7-month period, back pain completely gone, visceral fat down by about 60%, body fat down into the 20s, literally is a completely different human being. And someone was saying to me, what extreme measures did you do? And I asked the team, what was the secret? And the secret was actually just very calm, traditional things, focused on sleep, getting cortisol down, obviously diet and restriction, getting that into a better place, proper routines of training that actually worked. What we found with him, he was actually overexerting and therefore actually could never get into a fat burning state. So I think although we have all the gadgets and we have all the tools, we are very focused on making sure those ancient principles really make sense as well.
Yeah, it was described to me by a guy who does this new mitochondrial enhancement or mitochondrial function test called the Me Screen. Fascinating test. They're testing for mitochondrial efficiency and health. He calls it overhacking. He tests a lot of these biohackers and finds that paradoxically, they have almost like exhausted mitochondria or inefficient mitochondria because they are doing too much, red light, PMF, oxygen, almost creating excess ROS through this idea of overhacking, versus, as you just described, more balanced approach, connection to earth. You're back to the ancestral wisdom thing we opened with, right? Water, sunshine, earth, family, exercise, but not too much, etc.
It's interesting. We just bought out a guy you've met actually once before. It's Lim, which is that HRV guy on Instagram. And he came out to Australia and did 6 weeks with our members. And actually, out of everything we've done, his course, which is all focused on purpose and self-identity and all the spiritual things you and I talk about a lot, we actually saw more results in HRV through that programming and gratitude and simplifying life and getting connected to spirit. We actually saw better results in HRV outcomes there than we've seen in anything else in the club.
Yeah, that's why top biohack for the HRV, go camping. Tim, in terms of, we've mentioned it a few times, but I would love to open the kimono here and talk a little bit to people about you and me or St. Haven and me in terms of what the plan for the future is. I'm jumping in, helping you guys out a little bit, advising, but what can people expect as far as the work between Gerner Group and Ben Greenfield in our alliance?
Yeah, and I think, Ben, you probably don't know how much work we did on you and everyone else out in the world before we actually chose you and gave you a call that day. So one thing we're very particular about, I get very nervous in the wellness industry. There's a lot of fads. There's a lot of latest tech with no science behind it. Obviously NAD is the big thing at the moment. Cold therapy is the big thing at the moment. It doesn't suit everyone, as you know. So we were very careful looking at all the best sort of, I don't want to call you an influence because I think you're so much more than that, but the brain power behind how we actually make sure this thing's got efficacy. And you looked at the likes of you and Human and all these guys, and what we actually loved about you was this incredible balance of family, spirit. And I remember listening to you one day, and I think the interviewer said, "How long do you want to live, Ben? You're trying to live to 120." He said, "Forget about that. I'm just trying to live my ultimate health today for my family, to live the best day. If that means I can live for longer, that's fantastic." And I think that's what really resonated with you is you've got this real reality that, we're not just going to say we need to do 6 hours of biohacking a day and bring out all this latest tech. It's about spirit, connection to ground, and using all the best tech we can when we need it for the right appropriate things. So it was about a 2-year process before we actually gave you that call. You don't realize that, but we'd spoken to a lot of others that we didn't connect with. And, we're super excited about the partnership with you. And really the most important thing for us is this isn't a marketing fad that we're creating in St. Haven. This is a community of people who want to live their ultimate lives. And we want to bring the best tech, the best science, the best food, the best training, even the work with you, Ben, like personally, I mean, I feel like I have a pretty good idea on what's out there in terms of training and different ideas and how much I should train. And you flip that on its head for me. So what we've done for the last 6 months, I'm actually training less and probably getting more results. And, it's about bringing that real, someone with the amazing obsession, passion, and science that you have into the brand. So it's not just a brand that isn't evolving. We want to constantly evolve and get better and better. And, we don't have a small ambition with this business. It's not about trying to be the biggest and the best, but we want to definitely have as much effect around the world as we can. And I think, by doing that, I do think it will probably be the biggest wellness club offering, because these are very, very difficult businesses to run. So if we can have the best ideas, concepts, science from you feeding in the latest technology, our team are evolving, we're learning what's working every single day, then we can continue to really affect people's lives. So the big focus right now is Dubai, the Middle East, and the United States. So, a lot of people, when we came to the States, don't go to New York first. It's the toughest place to do business. We sort of wanted to take that challenge, to be honest. So we're very close to signing at least 2 locations in New York, which is why I was over there in February this year. So New York is definitely the first focus. Then we have a really good look in San Francisco, LA, subject to how, employment laws are a little bit difficult there, as you know. Miami, I was there in February as well. So the US is a really big focus for us now. And then Dubai, as you know, I mean, UAE is going through an insane wellness growth right now. So, that's a big part of our future there too. They're doing some stuff over there. There's obviously the laws are a little bit more lax over there. So they'll see stem cells, they're pushing very hard. There's all sorts of experimental things that we're sort of watching over there quite carefully. But when they're proven up, we'll bring them into the clubs as well. So that's the club part of it. But Ben, as you know, what's been really interesting for us is the integration of real estate creation and wellness, right? So what the world will soon see is the first wellness longevity precinct that we've done in partnership with you, Ben, in the Docklands in Melbourne, which is a 20,000 square metre site on the heart of the CBD of Melbourne, where we've got over 1,500 apartments. And we're bringing in the first ever biohacking longevity and wellness precinct, where every single element of it will be focused in consultation with you on having the best air, the best water, circadian lighting, the best wellness offering in every single touch point throughout all the spaces. So that's a really exciting, it's called Elysian Fields, which is a project that we'll be launching in a couple of months. That's one element. The next thing that you and I are having a session on when you come out on is one of our ultra luxury projects here in South Yarra. We're going to be doing the first ever St. Haven branded residences. And what that will be, everything you enjoy in the club and all the personalized service will actually be coming into a building of about 200 luxury apartments, where you'll wake up in the morning, you'll pick up your iPad, your aura or your health results will be going through the iPad. Your blinds will open at the specific time that fits your circadian lighting. The lights will dim, fit your timing based on your biofeedback. Obviously, incredible air filtration, water filtration, full club. So we've got a very big vision for it. So it's well beyond the clubs.
Yeah. The idea of city residences. I mean, it's incredible. It's almost like the future of human living. But again, I don't want to shove anybody under the bus or anything, but you do get kind of like the Brian Johnson-esque approach. And I love Brian. I think he's a pioneer doing great things for wellness and biohacking and longevity. But I think sometimes I get a sense that there's also a need for more, of an emphasis on family, on sunshine, on the outdoors, on community. And I could be, of course, interpreting his overall lifestyle, incorrectly, as he and I haven't hung out a whole lot, even though we need to at some point. But this idea of going beyond just like the lonely biohacker huddled up inside of a hyperbaric chamber and delving into residences, communities, cities, and I guess as Lifestyle Magazine said, Tim, cults.
Exactly.
I think it's a very holistic approach,
Yeah, and I think, look, we all know from, whether it's the Blue Zones or any scientific study that's been done, community is actually the number one longevity thing. And when you look at Melburnians and people all the way around the world, we've really lost that sense of community. And I think that's why run clubs are becoming such a big thing. But you can imagine being part of this club where you're walking every single day. The team behind the desk know your name, they know your coffee order, they know your smoothie, they know your best friends, they know your friends in the HIIT studio waiting for you. Even my wife, we're not overly social people, and she's now got this amazing group of girls where every Monday, 9:30, they're doing the Pilates, they have their smoothie after, then they catch up, do a bit of haven recovery. She's created this amazing sense of community. And for someone like myself, who I don't get time to really socialize much, I was in the club this morning and I bump into a mate. We have a quick coffee, and then I'm in a class with another friend. Then I have a smoothie after, bump into another mate. I've seen 3 people that I wouldn't see in 3 or 4 months. And it's able to create this amazing social connection that's just so important. And the next big thing, Ben, also that, we're starting to have a good look at is hotels. And, for me, I'll be staying in Sydney tonight, and I'll stay in a bed that's uncomfortable. I'll be too hot. The air will be terrible. The light will come in too early in the morning. The water, you can't drink the water because it's shocking. There'll be Wi-Fi everywhere. And how do we create spaces where when you travel, you actually wake up in the morning feeling great, as opposed to we all just accept that when we stay at a hotel, the next morning when we go to our business meeting, we're going to feel worse, right? Why can't we create a space where it actually feels better to be sitting within a hotel? So, we think there's huge evolution of the brand, and it's really about making sure we're staying at the forefront of what science is proving.
Yeah. Well, this podcast will likely have come out just before I'm over there in Australia with you, Tim. We have some really fantastic events lined up. So if you're hearing this, in June 2025, check out the show notes or any of the social channels from me or Gerner Group, because we're going to be doing some talks at the clubs, and I'll be over there in Melbourne very soon. So the show notes are bengreenfieldlife.com/Tim Gurner. If you want to be a part of that. And if you're listening to this after June 2025, obviously plenty that you can get involved in, even if you're not in Australia. Obviously, if you're an early adopter, this thing's going to be in the US soon, in Dubai, like Tim said, and beyond. So this is something I'm super excited about. Obviously, any of you who are into biohacking or wellness or a long-time listener to this podcast, you're probably drooling as Tim walked through what happens when you actually walk into the club and, take the secret entrance. So Tim, I'm super excited. I can't wait to see you in literally I think about 2 weeks. I'm stoked to announce the launch of this thing, the launch of our alliance, and really, really cool things coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, same, Ben. We're so excited to have you out, mate. I can tell you there's thousands of people waiting to get you out here. You've been a big brand over here for a long time. And I think, as you know, most of the wellness podcasts, Australia is a very, very big market, because although we love a bit of alcohol, we probably try and balance it a bit with a wellness element too. So just pumped to get you out here and get to spend lots of quality time and show the world what we can do together.
We'll make it happen, brother. And again, those of you listening in, bengreenfieldlife.com/Tim Gurner. Check out the videos and the photos I have there. Check out the links to the Australia tour and everything else. There'll be juicy show notes. Tim, thanks so much, man. And best of luck with your unhealthy Sydney travels, which hopefully will be a thing of the past soon.
They will be. Thanks, Ben.
All right, cool. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Hit subscribe, leave a ranking, leave a review if you got a little extra time. It means way more than you might think. Thank you so much.